The following program contains discussion of real-life law enforcement situations and may include graphic content and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to End of Watch with Bootsy and Sal. We're your hosts, Kevin Grogan and Lou Velosi.
We'll weigh in on topics that affect the law enforcement community and invite guests who have their fingers on the pulse of our nation.
With over 40 years of combined law enforcement experience, ranging from patrol to multi-million-dollar federal investigations, we are not going to pull any punches.
All right, welcome to End of Watch with Bootsy and Sal. I'm your host, Kevin Grogan, a.k.a. Bootsy.
And Lou Velosi, a.k.a. Sal.
Sal, we got a special guest here today. This is our first time coming at you with video, and I'll let you do the intro.
All right, so for our first video podcast, we're lucky enough to have Carlos Canino, ATF Special Agent in charge of the Los Angeles Field Division. I'm going to give a full disclosure. I've been friends with Carlos for almost 3 decades. Carlos has been an ATF agent for 30 years. He started out in the Los Angeles Field Division. Carlos has worked all over the country. He was a great undercover agent. He was an agent in the ATF Enhanced Undercover Program. He rose to supervision and worked all over the country, and he's going to tell us a little bit about that. He's done his headquarters time, and now he's back out in the field as the special agent in charge in Los Angeles. Carlos and I both started out in LA together. I was an INS agent. Carlos was a ATF agent. We lived together in the Hermosa Beach area. A lot of shenanigans went on, and we might get into some of those too. But Carlos, thank you for being here, my brother, and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. This is exciting. I'm proud of you guys. You guys, this is a great thing. I've been listening to all the podcasts, and this is one of the good ones. So I'm proud of you guys.
Thank you, brother. And for a little more background, Carlos and Bootsy also have a special connection. Go ahead.
We're both proud graduates of Westfield State College in Westfield, Massachusetts.
That's right. Otherwise, the Fighting Owls, otherwise known as the Harvard of Western Massachusetts.
Exactly. I've been trying to tell people down in Georgia that all the time, and they scoff at me, which is ridiculous, as you well know.
Right.
Hey, Los, I want to start the podcast out with we had a little discussion before we started here, and you had listened to one of our previous podcasts about mental health issues, with law enforcement officers, and we had a tragedy last night, man. You mind just telling us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so unfortunately last night, Special Agent Greg Widener, longtime ATF agent, longtime SRT member, longtime division tactical advisor of the Phoenix Field Division, committed suicide last night. It's tragic, and this we have to, as law enforcement, we have to do something today, not tomorrow, not next week. We got to do something today. This is affecting our industry, our profession. This is affecting our friends, our family. We have to do something. We have people that are hurting. We got to figure out how to spot people who are having problems and help them. We can't sustain this. This is, I don't know what else to say. This is heartbreaking. This is the 9th person that I know in my 30 years that has done this. It is, I don't know what else to say. It is, we have to do something.
Carlos, unfortunately, brother, I remember back in the early 90s, another guy we worked with, Nathaniel Medrano. I mean, this has been going on for too long. Another great agent. Same. He actually committed suicide in the office.
Yeah. July 1996. And again, I think about that guy every day, and I have.
And there was a guy, Los, with Nathaniel, who, I mean, just from knowing him, one of those guys, I never, you never thought about that or even expected.
No, right, exactly, right. The last person you would think would do that would be him.
You know, it's not a new phenomenon. It's something we've been seeing as far back as '96 and way before that. It's just, you know, I guess that's a good lead in, Los. What is ATF doing these days to help combat issues like this?
Well, you know, that's a great question. ATF has, they've had a peer support program since the late 80s. You know, Jay Dobbins got me into the peer support program in 1992 after a shooting that I had. And frankly, and people know this, or, you know, maybe people might know this for the first time, the peer support program saved my life because, as you know, right, after you experience a shooting or a traumatic incident, your body goes through physiological changes, and what your body's trying to do, it's reboot itself. That's all it's trying to do. Right, your reptilian brain is saying, "I almost died. The threat is over. Now I have to recalibrate myself." Basically, right? That's what ends up happening.
You got to get back to the baseline.
And,
Yeah.
right. And so you have a lot of physiological reactions to that. If you don't know that's what's happening to you, you think you're going crazy, right? You think you're a coward. And right, who wants to be the first guy to raise their hand and say, "I think I'm going crazy," or "I think I'm a coward"? So what do? You self-medicate because you don't want to feel like that anymore. And then, right, you're on that hamster wheel, and we know what happens.
And if you don't have somebody explaining to you what's happening to you, I mean, who's prepared to deal with that?
Right, exactly. So,
Guys, you know what I mean?
right, you try to tough it out, right? You want to tough it out. You don't want to say anything. One of the things is we have to get rid of that stigma, right? We have to get rid of the stigma so people will come forward and say, "I need help." Nobody has a problem coming forward when they blow out their knee, blow out their ankle, right? Nobody has a problem with that. When you hurt your brain, for some reason, there's a stigma attached to that, and all of a sudden, right? People want to ostracize you, or they want to, you're damaged goods, right? Hey, go stand in the corner over there with the dunce cap. We have to, as an organization, we have to, as a law enforcement profession, we have to do everything we can to get rid of that stigma. We have to do that. Oh, this is going to continue.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think you mentioned Jay Dobbins, you know, and I'm sitting next to Lou here. You know, hard hitters in the law enforcement community. When guys like this step up and say, "Look, we've been through something. It's okay to get treatment. It's necessary to get treatment to get back on your feet." You know, I think that's a start, and it's a good direction for us to go in.
Yeah, one thing Bootsy and I talked about in the past, Carlos, that I think all agencies and departments also need to address is when one of us does reach out for help, you know, whether it's, you know, you call your, what's it called? Not peer support, but the
Employee assistance.
Yeah, EAP. I think our agencies and departments have to be a little bit more sensitive and aware that, you know, one concern we have as officers is, hey, listen, if I tell them the truth, how I'm feeling, you know, and that gets passed on to the agency, I'm going to lose my badge and gun and my security clearance and maybe my job. That can't be a repercussion when someone reaches out for help. I think that needs to be addressed somewhat.
Right. I think one of the good things, and this happened in the last couple of years now on the background, on your security clearance now, that question is not there anymore.
Good.
Which is right, the step in the right direction. You know, ATF as our peer support program is probably the model in federal law enforcement. You know, the marshals have come, and they have a robust program too. All the other agencies, when I was the DAD of programs, we had a symposium in headquarters with a lot of the other federal agencies coming over and, asking us, hey, how do you do this? What do we need to do to set up our own program? And we've continued that. So it's, again, right, you want to get better every day. The leadership at ATF, especially during the last 10 years, are sensitive to this and making sure that we reach out to people and help them.
Well, I'll tell you what, Carlos, I'll give you my personal example of that because I agree with you. When I went through my situation toward the end of my career, I did call the Employee Assistance Program, and ATF was, I tell you, they were great about it. Chris Bayless is in the peer support group, and the undercover program paid for him to come down and
Right.
come down and stay with me and actually help talk me through this and tell me, hey man, you're redlining, you're living in a red line right now, like a car that's at 8,000 RPMs, and we got to get you back to idle. And to hear it from a guy like you or like Chris Bayless, or any of these guys who I know have been